You know, one of the things that I want to talk about with you today is achieving your dreams and why you should achieve them and why you should not stop trying to achieve your dreams. But before I get into that, we're about to go ahead and get into this quick topic real quick. I want to be able to motivate you and kind of give you some encouragement to do great things. You know, I know there's a lot of motivational speakers out there and everything, but nothing to take away from them. But I just want to be able to give you that kind of motivation, because honestly, sometimes we don't have people in our corners to be able to give us that motivation to say you can go out there and achieve, and you can achieve as much as you can. So one of the things, or one of the stories I would like to tell you, is about a man and a recipe. Now, have you ever thought about achieving something and believe that you couldn't achieve it, or you think that it's too late to achieve it? I know a person that thought otherwise. So, if you don't know who I'm talking about Colonel Sanders, the man that created KFC, right? Do you know he did not make his first million until he was 66 years old? Now, when I heard this myself, I couldn't believe it. I was actually shocked, amazed, and surprised. He didn't give up. He sold his recipe over and over. Well, presented it. He tried to present his recipe over and over and over again. Nobody thought about buying it. Nobody didn't want to do anything with it until right around, like, I forgot what age it was. We actually was able to, sell the recipe and actually get it created, and it became a hit. And he made his first million, became a millionaire at 66 years old, which lets me know that it's never too late to chase your dreams. It's never too late to pursue something different and be able to excel and achieve it. Now, I can tell you, when I was a kid, one of the things that I wanted to do was to own my own business. Now, I had no recollection on what that was going to be. Only thing I knew is that I wanted to own my own business. I wanted to stand on top of my own building, look down at all the people, and say that I made it. I did it. Only problem is that I had a plan. I just didn't have a roadmap. I didn't know how I was going to get there. But then I ran into a little bump in the road. I had a son. And in those cases, a dream is deferred. But even when a dream is deferred, another opportunity always comes out of nowhere. And then you kind of just trickle down that path. So the path that I went down was I had to better myself. I knew that I had to set the example and be the example for my son. And he had to see me in a way that he would want to achieve more as well. Now, in my defense, it took me a while to get there. It took me a long while to get there, but I had some pretty great achievements in the interim. I published 3 books. That was a first. In my family, it was a first, because my dad is not a writer and my mom is not a writer. So I fell in love with writing poetry. And I said, well, actually, a friend had read some of my poetry and had came to me and said, hey, you should put this in a book. And I was like, nah, I don't want to put this in a book. Like, I don't even think anybody's going to read it. So this kind of started like my entrepreneurship venture, because then my mindset was, okay, well, I want to self-publish and I want to put it in, a company that stands to name. And that's what I did. I put it in a company that had my name on it, and I published the 3 books, and it was a show style. I mean, it was good. It was some like small books. I had produced like a poetry book and like 2 small novels. And my goal was to write another book, but I just couldn't find the same passion that I had when I first wrote my first book. So I kind of was just like, I kind of played around with it for a little bit. I still wrote poetry. I still went to the poetry scene. But then I kind of strayed away from doing poetry. And I kind of wanted to do scripts. I wanted to write scripts for cartoons. So then I started to dabble with that. And played around with it for a little bit. And I was like, okay, well, this is cool, this is fine, but still, I wasn't making so much of I wasn't making a great path for it, so to speak. So I wasn't getting enough traction to kind of like make the cartoon. So it took me 10 years to make my first cartoon. 10 years to make my first cartoon. So I had people that I was working with at work, helping me write the script, helping me draw the character, because I can't draw. I mean, if you want to see stick figures, I'm great with stick figures. I can make stick figures, chop. I can make stick figures flip. I can make stick figures, I can make them tumble, okay? I can do a lot of things with some stick figures. I can draw them with clothes and stuff. But if you want me to draw something that is close to realism, it's not going to look that way. Okay, it's gonna look like a bad drawn Picasso. To be honest with you, it's not gonna look great. It's just gonna be ugly as hell. Okay, and in those times where because I was really just writing this script on the job. Like I was using a computer, I was using their software, I was printing it out, and the company I work for, they didn't even have Outlook, so I couldn't email it to myself. So I was using their printer paper. Like I was doing all that. You can raise your hand if you ever use company supplies to get your job done for a job that you're creating yourself. Like your self-made company was made on somebody else's time. You can raise your hand. That's fine. I'm pretty sure we've all done it. But yes, so I was trying to build my animation company, or I was trying to do a script and then pitch the script to an organization or Nickelodeon, Cartoon Network, whatever, whoever was gonna hear me out. So I can go ahead and do those type of things. I still want to make my own cartoon, but I've done it a few times. I think I made like 100 episodes of like several different cartoons combined. Combined is like 100 episodes, maybe 80. I don't know. Who cares? But the thing here is that eventually I got to the point where I was able to do my own cartoon, and I found a great software. A friend of mine helped me find this software where it can make the characters for me. I couldn't draw worth a lick, but I was able to find the software and draw my own cartoons, and then I came up with my cartoon company, X11 Animations, and I was able to do my own cartoons, and I did them. I created like 4 episodes, not 4 episodes, I did like 4 shows, 12 episodes a piece. Had my friends come do voiceovers. They were pretty cool. Then I had some other friends come do voiceovers, and I would work on the scripts. Now the cartoons were like 3 minutes long. It took me 16 hours to work on one cartoon for 3 minutes. So that was writing a script, creating the backgrounds, creating the characters, editing the script, proofreading and everything. Okay. After I did that, then doing the voiceovers. So I do my own voiceovers, and then I have my friends come in, and then they would do voiceovers. So I was good at doing like 2 voiceovers. I think that's like the max I can do. It was 2 voiceovers. I tried to do like an old man voiceover, but it didn't work out as good as I thought it did. And I kept playing it back, trying not to hear my voice in it, but I kept hearing my voice, and then I played it for some other people, and they heard my voice too, so they were like, yeah, that's not gonna work. I said, yeah, it's gonna be a little rough. But I did it nonetheless. Well, I tried to do it. I never published it, but I tried to do it. So, but after doing the voiceovers, then you had to edit the audio. So I had to edit my audio. You never really know crazy until you have to hear your voice several times over while you're trying to edit it. And then even when you're recording it, and you're listening to it, you're like, well, that's not how I wanted to sound, but you gotta kind of hear yourself over and over again. It's not like how it sounds in your head when you hear it on recordings. It's the craziest thing, because I would record and then I would go back and listen to it and I'm like, why I sound like a cartoon character? I just never understood why I sound that way. But you know, I know I don't sound like a cartoon character now because, you know, it's like low, slow and everything, but sometimes, you know, I can sound like a cartoon character. Sometimes, but yeah. But if you go look at the animations, you'll be able to differentiate me from everybody else, because I'll be the most cartoon sounding like one on the episode. Okay, now, so after recording, editing the recording, then producing the animation. So then we would produce the animation. So once we started to produce the animation, you know, that's when you get into like the animation, the cartoon movement and everything. So doing the movement and everything for them, and then saving that file. Then from saving that file and adding in the audio, and then taking it to another program, and then putting it all together, then exporting that out of the program, then watching it for, you know, anything that you may want to go back and change and everything. Like, just thinking about it making me tired. Like, it was a long process, okay? A very long, daunting process. I was just kind of like, man, it's a long process. But I did it. You know, I did some of my poetry on there. I did some animated poetry. And I did a few of my other shows. I actually did a music video in there. The guy didn't like the music video, but it was kind of like, whatever, bro. I still posted it. So as long as it's still getting views, I can care less. You know? Like, that's raw to the mud. Like, I just took my man's song. Like, yeah, man. Like, we still gonna post it, bro. Regardless of whether you liked it or not, we still gonna post it. So, but he didn't like it or whatever like that. But it is what it is, whatever. But it took me a year to learn that program. I mean, that's some dedication to some animation, especially if you ain't never did animation before, but you know, you just kind of dibble and dabble in it. And I've met some people that it was looking to dibble and dabble in it and everything. And I made some investments. I had bought like a little sketchboard, and I realized that even on the sketchboard I couldn't draw. So I just said, forget it. I'm just not the draw. I'm not that artistic to where I can draw. I'm artistic to where I can write, and I can write anything. Like, I can write an essay, I can write a 10-page paper, I can write a 20-page paper and make it sound good. I can write a script, I can write some poetry. You know, I can write poetry for other people. You can tell me about somebody, and I can write you a love poem for that. I'm that type of artistic. The artistic that I'm not, I can't draw. For whatever reason it is, I don't have that all around artistic ideal. Like, I'm only good for writing and writing purposes only. I can't do anything else. All right. So, and the reason why I'm kind of giving you this artistic path of achievements that I've done is to let you know that I didn't stop. I kept going amidst everything that was going on, along with everything that could have possibly stopped me but didn't stop me. Getting custody of my son. Well, first my son been born, then getting custody of my son. Going to 4 different colleges, trying to graduate so I can be that example for him, so I can be that pillar from him, and having that financial stability. I got laid off at one point in time and didn't have a degree to fall on, and realize how much of a disadvantage I would be in the future for my son. You know, I don't know if you ever been laid off and have to go home, and I had a fiance at the time. You ever been laid off and have to go home and try to figure out what your next move is? You put money out your 401k to take care of some immediate bills that may bog you down in the future, and then you're looking for a new path and a new way to get to bring in the money for your family. Now, granted, For me, I was lucky enough to have my job call me back from layoff 30 days later. Had I known that was going to happen, I wish I would have bought a house at that time, because I had the funds. At that time, houses were low, interest rates were low, so I could have bought a house for a really good price, and probably could have had it paid off, or I would have still had like a low mortgage. Then my mortgage probably would have been about $700, because interest rates were like really low. This was back in like about 2013, 2014. So like right after the housing market crash and everything. The housing market. Well, wait, maybe it was a big three. That, whatever happened in 2008, 2009 that caused me, I think it was a big three that had went down, and then the housing market crash that had occurred. Right. Somewhere in there. I can't remember all the details, but somewhere in there, but the housing market wasn't as bad as it is like post-pandemic. So I could have like really had bought a house for like extremely reasonable. I'm not gonna say cheap, but extremely reasonable for the money that I was already making at the time. And then when I had put the money out, I would have been able to go and get a decent house or whatever, and could have just stayed in that house for a little while, rented that house out, maybe not pre-pandemic, maybe post-pandemic. I don't know, because it only been like 10 years when I had been in the house. So yeah, that would have been interesting. But I say that to say that when I got laid off and I had went home and I had to look at my son and realize, like, man, like, I got one more check coming in. Rent is due. I'm gonna put this money on my 401k and I'm gonna make it work. It devastated me. And I went to job fairs and realized that I wasn't gonna make the same money that I was gonna make, and I was gonna have to take a pay cut, like an extreme pay cut. That's how I got the understanding that jobs wasn't loyal to the employees. It was like my first real understanding that jobs wasn't loyal. And then my job called me back, as if they shouldn't have never laid me off in the first place. But they called me back. And I went back and I realized then, and I was still in school at this time, going for my associate's degree. I realized then that I was gonna walk for my associate's degree, and then I was gonna walk for my bachelor's degree, because even if I got laid off again, I had my associates to lean back on, and I wasn't gonna put myself or my family in a position where we were gonna go without, or the possibility of going without. Like, I didn't trust my job at all at that point, because I knew at some point in time it was going to come down to them having to lay me off again. And at the time, I was with the job for 9 years, because I started in 2006. So I was with the job for like 8-9 years before they decided to lay me off. And I thought I wasn't gonna be the one to get laid off. I'm like, oh look, I'm almost 10 years in. There's no way they gonna get to me, but they did. And I felt horrible because I wasn't gonna be able to take care of my son and be able to finance, or well, not finance, but be financially stable to keep our lifestyle. So that's when I decided that one of my pursuits was to go get my degree, and that's what I did. So along with working 2 jobs to take care of my son, going to school to be the example for my son, and the endeavors that I did over the years to be the example of starting my own business, I went to achieve it. So I did go ahead and get my degree in HR. My son has seen me walk across the stage twice. He's seen the books that I produce, all 3 of them. He's seen and been a part of the cartoon process. He did voiceovers for the cartoons. So I had him part of that process. And now he is the producer of my podcast, Fair Woman's a Nice Guy. And I have been the example. I have been the product. I have been essentially the person that has been showing him every step of the way of some of the business processes and stuff that I've been going through. When it came to buying a house, he walked through the process with me. He went looking at houses with me. Now he would get he'll get a little too excited on some of the tours, so I had to leave him at home. Like, you too excited. You about to make it seem like we about to buy the house right now with some of these people. Like, we can't have that, okay? But I was the example. I was the pillar for him to understand that there is no dream too far off that you cannot grasp. You can do anything you want to do. And let me be your example. Let me be your pillar. Let me let you know that we all face some level of adversity. But we can all surpass anything that is blocking us. Now, don't get me wrong. Some people, you may be out there thinking like, what if I got health issues or health concerns and everything? Very well. But it doesn't mean that there's nothing that you can't capitalize on. You may overcome those health issues. You may not overcome those health issues. Maybe there's a story behind that struggle and you want to share it. You can share your life and your experience. There are people that don't understand that life experience. Maybe they seen it in a movie. Maybe they seen it on Lifetime. Maybe they seen it on some ID channel or some medical channel, whatever the case is. But you have a voice. You are a person. You can achieve. You can chase your dreams. There's no dream that can start too early to chase. There's no dream that can start too late to chase. The best thing you can do is just start. And not a lot of people, there are few in between of individuals that won't start. They'll make excuses for why they shouldn't start. Whether it's financial, whether it's personal, or it's just the inability to start at all. For whatever reason. But you gotta start somewhere. You have to start. Once you start and you continue, one of the best things people say is consistency. You stay consistent in what you're doing. In the event that you fall off, you can always get back up. One thing that I taught my son is that it's okay to fail. I was always scared of failing, which means that I was scared of trying. Because if you try and you fail, you kind of get discouraged from trying again. But if you try and you fail, you learn from the failure and then you try again. I published books. I failed. I learned from the failure. Then I went on to something else. I went and started my animation company. I tried. I failed. Then I went back and tried again. And I failed. And it was really me just being impatient and learning a process. And when you're doing animations and you're doing a whole thing by yourself, you really have to develop a extreme passion for doing animation. And when I say extreme passion, I mean extreme passion, because it is a long process depending on how you do it. Because there's a few different ways you can do animation, but it's a long process regardless of how you decide to do it. Whether you want to do all the drawings by hand or you want to use a computer to kind of animate it for you. it's a long process regardless of the case. Okay, it's not a short process at all. So when it comes to trying and failing, now I'm at a point where I'm working on my podcast. My son is a producer of my podcast. He produces the live shows that we do on Fridays. So I tried, and I'm still learning. I'm failing, and I'm not failing, but there's still parts in the process of doing podcasting that I'm learning. But I also realize that as I'm learning, that I'm growing as well, and I'm understanding a lot of I'm understanding and learning from all the past failures that I had, the impatience, the business aspect of it, the content nature of it, because all of it's content, from writing a book to doing animation to doing a podcast. It's all content. It's all some form of content that you're putting out there. You know, being an author, you're putting out some level of artwork, some level of content for people to read, understand, and envision and engross themselves into the book to make it seem like they're actually there. Okay, from doing the cartoons to making people laugh to talking about stuff that happens in your life, is all content. And I tell you this stuff, I tell you these stories and these experiences because I want to be able to say you can achieve the same thing that I have achieved. You can start and fail, learn, and then go back and try again. It's nothing wrong with failure. Failure is only part of the process. None of these businesses that you go and visit are there because they tried and didn't fail. They failed before they got to the point where it actually started to work. You gotta fail first. You can't just start and then expect it to excel. It's not gonna excel first. You're gonna start and fail several times before you actually get it going. So that's my motivational speech to you. Okay, I'm your host MNG, and I will catch you on the next recording. Peace.